I'll refrain from giving you a long litany, a few irresistible exceptions, however, please, and a personal anecdote. Here's the personal anecdote. A couple of decades back, when KFC asked Y&R to pitch for its business, the account at the time was one of the biggest in the industry, and it was critical for all agencies that were fighting to get it. My job, I was new and I was green, and I was in charge of new business. And it had been a long, long time since Y&R had won a major significant piece of business. So to Y&R, this one mattered big time. We assembled a team of the best and the brightest, submerged ourselves in lots of data. We interviewed KFC executives and KFC franchisees. We worked, as you would imagine, 24/7, living on caffeine, snack foods, cold pizza, and of course KFC. But I still wasn't happy, you know. As I reflected on it, every one of the 9, because the 10th agency was the agency that had the account, the other 9 agencies were going to go exactly through the same process. So I said, we got to do something different. So we decided to go to Nashville and found Marvin Hopper, who was chairman of the Franchisee Committee on Advertising and Marketing Issues. They were responsible for advertising decisions. So we went to Nashville, and Marvin was happy to meet with us. I said to him, Marvin, we want to know everything we can learn about how to cook chicken. So he started to pull my legs. He said, my wife's got a couple of cookbooks. I said, no, Marvin, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So he arranged for us, 2 of us, to go work in a store. So he yanked a couple of the workers, left us with the manager, and we became the workers in that Kentucky Fried Chicken store for a week. It was hard work. There were lots of vats full of boiling oil, splattering all over the place to dump the extra crispy product in to get cooked. So we got blisters in our hands and our legs. There was, of course, the pressure cooker for the original recipe product where the 11 herbs and spices was being cooked into the chicken. And then you had to anticipate volume because, you know, you put the fresh chicken, under the warming lights, but it only lasted there for 20 minutes. And then you had to throw it out, so you lost money. Then we had to fix the coleslaw, the biscuits, the gravy. We had to keep it clean in the back of the store, in the front of the store, work the cash registers, smile at the customers, make everybody happy. At the end of the day, we're so exhausted, we couldn't even go have a can of beer and chat about it. But we brought back to New York great respect for KFC, the process and their commitment to make the customers happy. We went back to work with renewed vigor. And the big day arrived. Mike Miles, he was then chairman of Kentucky Fried Chicken, later became chairman, CEO of Kraft and Philip Morris, big-time marketing guy. Jim Collins owned 500 stores up and down the West Coast. And then there were the other 18, 19 franchisees who had the votes, who owned a store or 2 or 3. And we presented for 8 hours, if you can believe it. Research, strategies, creative work, and then they said, it's going to be an hour and a half of Q&A. And we want to see how you respond to our questions. We want to see how we interface with one another and so forth. And most of the Q&A was actually, for us, so prepared, was a piece of cake, layups. And then Mr. Lambo. Mr. Lambo from the Deep South stood up to his mighty height of 5'5" and started, said, Mr. Georgescu, you and your colleagues from New York, you're so smart. You're so clever. You're inspirational. You made me feel so terrific. I went patting the back of my trousers to see if my wallet was still there. And you know where he was going with the opening like that, and said, I have just one question. He said, your research shows that our original recipe product tastes better than the extra crispy product. Can we take the 11 herbs and spices from the original recipe and put it in the extra crispy product to make it taste better? I looked up at my colleagues. That's one question we never rehearsed. They were saying, what's the bozo going to say? And I looked at the franchisees. They are now deadpan. They absolutely, all of a sudden, they're Mount Rushmore. And so I said to Mr. Lambo, you're absolutely right. 11 herbs and spices make the original recipe product taste better than extra crispy. But if you were to put the 11 herbs and spices into the batter and then take the extra crispy product, dump in the hot oil, boiling oil, the 11 herbs and spices will just go splattering all over the place. I wish you could do it, but with the current technology, you just can't. So Mr. Lambo looked at me for a second or two, then gave me one of those big smiles from ear to ear, sat down, said nothing. But I knew if we came close to the other agencies on all the other matters, we would have demonstrated to the franchisee committee and to Mr. Lambo that we cared, that we understood the product, that we understood their customers. So back to my list of competency. Number one, your customer, your consumer is your number one asset, period. So know your customer and your consumer as well as you know your business. You got to know them in depth. You got to know them intimately. You got to know their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations. You got to know what they want from you. You need to know what they want from the industry and most importantly from your brand. You got to know how to build brands. In today's excess supply world, strong brands will win in every single instance. So align yourself with organizations, with teachers, with consultants who really know the art and science of building brands. As was mentioned, during my last 7 years as CEO, we've invested over $70 million in brand knowledge. There are a few other well-known sources and terrific people, some of them in this room, who understand how to build brands. I suggest you seek out your sources, you avail yourselves of those insights. It will serve you very well. Next, every successful enterprise will have developed a strategic intent, a dynamic, organic vision statement on what the business is about, a statement identifying those differentiating promises which make that one brand or company different from all competitive offerings and relevant to consumers. A vision statement that is simple and is kept relevant over time, a statement that is communicated and embraced by the top management team and also accepted by all employees. And back again, an effective vision statement always starts with a customer or consumer perspective. Next, perhaps the most basic competence of all is so simple, I hate to mention it, but I will. Learn how to make profits. Profitable revenue growth is what every business in tomorrow's world needs to produce. But growth doesn't always come along with profitability. So learn the mechanics of how you take revenue growth and extract profits from it. It's an absolutely critical and vital skill. Then adopt technology. The internet is becoming the lingua franca of the 21st century world. Technology and the internet in particular is the necessary, essential entry ticket in tomorrow's battles. The more you learn about it, the more you use it, the better off you'll be. But ultimately, remember this. While technology and the internet are important and critical, vital, they won't be the winning formula. What you do with technology is what matters. Back to creativity, back to enlightened leadership. Ultimately, a most vital competence for you to acquire is the commitment to a lifetime of learning. The most successful coach, I believe, in college basketball history, a gentleman by the name of John Wooden, was said to have observed, and quote, "A good many have the will to win. Few have the will to prepare." Few have the will to prepare. But then, as you think about it in business, in sports, you name it, all the winners had the will to prepare. The final principle I want to address is this: embrace values as a business strategy. It's a hard and often a complicated commandment, but it is an imperative to success. Now, to be honest, values are easy to live by when the answer is obvious and when you don't have much to lose by doing the right thing. Alas, real life is seldom that way. Some 25 years ago, Jim Burke, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, pulled all the Tylenol pills off the market. He did it to safeguard his customers. You may recall some crazy laced Tylenol capsules with arsenic. Several people died. Against advice from many quarters, the IR folks, the FDA, even the FBI, said don't do this. He took the pills of the market to protect two things. His customer safety came first, and then he believed the integrity of his brand. Now, Jim knew he was going to lose several $100 million in sales by doing that. He also knew that his stock would take a big hit, and he did. He lost close to $1 billion in market cap in just a few days. And that's the pressure cooker environment when doing the right thing can cost you big time in the short term. Yes, Jim Burke did the right thing, and it worked. The Tylenol brand not only survived, it thrived. In a few short months after introducing a new safety package, sales and profits and market cap went and reached new historic highs. Sadly, when other leaders faced similar choices, they flinched. They danced. They tried to fake it. Enron did repeatedly. Arthur Andersen did. Firestone did. And just as you read in the papers within the last few days, Merck certainly did. And so many more did. Indeed, values matter. Jim Burke understood that, and Jim Burke and Johnson & Johnson came out the big winners. I suggest that to be a good business leader, you must be and act as a good person. Business life and personal life will become one. To support creativity, to invent, to innovate, to maintain a nurturing yet demanding environment, you need to be and act as a good person. To live consistently by the new, increasingly level playing field rules of free enterprise, you must also be a good person. We can and must adopt basic human values, values that will guide one's personal and one's business behaviors. Not a whole bunch, just 5, I say. Honesty, trust, respect for others and respect for oneself, integrity, accountability. And by accountability, I mean being responsible for both the intent of one's actions and just as important, for the consequences, the outcomes which follow one's decisions, one's behavior, one's actions. We can change ourselves for the better by practicing and applying these values if we can muster the rigor and commitment of top athletes and, in fact, prepare. We'll have to apply these value-driven judgments to dozens of small and big decisions every day. And then on the day of the big game, when the pressure's on, when you have a lot to win and a lot to lose, maybe then you'll do the right thing. And that very act will help contribute demonstrably to a company's reputation, to the strength of that brand, and to a person's business success. So to summarize, have the will prepare, have the will to win. To win in this tough 21st century world, businessmen and women will need first and foremost to create new enduring relationship bonds with their customers. And they must do this with a constant stream of business building ideas and creatively superior product solutions. Of course, they'll do this by outstanding competence in executing individual assignments. They will succeed when they too will practice values as part of their core competencies. When they have the courage and the wisdom to tell their bosses and their customers not just what they want to hear, but what can really build a business. When they have the courage to do what's right for the business, right for the customers, right for the employees, not just right for themselves. Yes, you will win big when you'll dare to be creative at every critical competence in your arsenal and committed to practicing your values. So I urge you to be good and to do good in everything you will do. With the will to prepare and the will to win, you will have discovered the source of success. And thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Questions? Questions?